So, good morning, everyone. We'll begin with the reflections on universal well being. May I abide in well being, in freedom from affliction, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may I maintain well-being in myself. May everyone abide in well-being, in freedom from hostility, in freedom from ill will, in freedom from anxiety, and may they maintain well-being in themselves. May all beings released from all suffering, and may they not be parted from the good fortune they have attained. When they act upon intention, all beings are the owners of their action and inherit its results. Their future is born from such action, companion to such action, and results will be their home. All actions with intention, be they skillful or harmful, of such acts they will be the heirs. Okay, we'll now continue to read Acharya Mun's biography. So here Acharya Mun is near the end of his life. His physical health is declining, and he's still teaching. So Acharya Mahabua writes, despite failing health, Acharya Mun did not neglect his teaching obligations. His compassionate concern for his disciples never diminished, though he was no longer able to expound the Dhamma in such detail as before. Having finished his talk, he briefly answered questions and then promptly adjourned the meeting to return to his hut for a rest. Incredibly though, while sitting there expounding the Dharma to the assembled monks, he showed no sign of his illness. He spoke with his characteristic resoluteness in a sharp, lively fashion, his voice booming loudly as if he never had been sick. When he wanted to emphasize a point, the tempo of his voice quickened dramatically to drive the point home. He held nothing back as he spoke. His whole demeanor belied his true condition. Only after he finished speaking did we all realize how exhausted he was. So we quickly adjourned to allow him a chance to rest. One evening shortly before his illness began, on the occasion of the Magha Puja, the full moon day of February 1949, Acharya Man began expounding the Dharma to the assembled monks at 8 p.m. and did not finish until midnight. He spoke for a total of 4 hours. The power of the Dhamma he delivered that night truly amazed the whole assembly of Dutanga monks who were gathered for that occasion. To those listening, the entire universe appeared to have vanished without a trace, replaced in their awareness by the flow of this all-encompassing Dhamma, radiating forth in every direction. He began by paying tribute to the 1,250 arhats who had come together spontaneously on this full moon day in the time of the Buddha. On this day, 1,250 arhats assembled spontaneously at the Lord Buddha's residence without prior arrangement. They were all individuals of the utmost purity, completely free of kleshas. The Lord Buddha himself delivered the Patimoksha exhortation that day, making the occasion a Visuddhi Upasata, that is, an Upasata observed among monks who are absolutely pure. Compare that assembly with the one gathered here today. You listen to the Patimoksha being recited among monks who are all absolutely tainted. Not one of you is completely free of kleshas. It is dismaying that, having ordained as a monk, each of you is a son of the same Buddha as those Arahant disciples. Yet in your case, it is just an empty claim, lacking any real substance. Like a person with the name Good Man, who on the contrary is so weighed down by the evil doings, he can hardly move. In the Buddha's day, monks practiced the Dhamma truly, and so became true monks, with a true understanding that concealed nothing false. Today, the famous celebrity of some monks is so great that they rival the sun and the moon, yet their actions sink to the depths of the Avicii hells. Where will they ever find virtue, truth, and purity? They merely accumulate a mass of kaleshas and create the evil karma that goes with them. Since monks today are not engaged in uprooting the kleshas from their hearts, how can Visuddhi Mupassata possibly arise? Once ordained, they are satisfied with their exalted status as Buddhist monks, taking for granted that this makes them models of virtue. But they have no idea what the true virtues of a Buddhist monk really are. If they understood the meaning of the Patimoksha exhortation the Lord Buddha delivered, they would know the true nature of virtue. He condensed the essential meaning of virtue into this concise statement: refrain from all evil, develop goodness and wisdom in abundance, and purify the mind until it is bright and clear. This is the essence of the Buddha's teaching. Refraining from evil, what does that mean? Some people refrain from acting in evil ways, but still speak in evil ways. Others may not act or speak in evil ways, but they still think in evil ways. They continue to amass evil within themselves from dawn to dusk. Waking up the next morning, they resume amassing more evil. So it continues day in and day out. They're not interested in reflecting upon their actions. Convinced they are already virtuous people, they rate around expecting a state of purity to arise from virtue that exists in name only. So they never find a state of purity. Instead, they find only defilement and disquiet. This is bound to happen, for anyone intent on looking for trouble is sure to find it. What else would they find? There's no shortage of such things in the conventional world we live in. This was Acharya Mun's way of explaining the underlying natural principle of virtue to practicing monks, in the hope that they would gain a profound insight into the truth. He went on to explain the way of practice that begins with samadhi and wisdom, and ends with the ultimate attainment, absolute freedom. Discussing all areas of practice fully and openly, his exposition that day held nothing back. But since much of what he has already said has been covered in previous talks, I shall not elaborate any further here. The assembly of monks sat perfectly still the entire time he spoke, no one making the slightest sound to interrupt the cadence of his voice as he delivered this eloquent discourse. As he finished speaking, he made a similar remark to the one he previously made at Wat Shedilang Monastery in Chiang Mai. He said in effect that this talk would be the final encore of his old age. Never would he give another such talk. His words that night were prophetic, because from that day on, he never gave another profound and lengthy exposition of Dhamma. 1 month later, his illness began, and his health steadily declined until he passed away. So you can see Acharya Man's tireless kind of heart, vigor in expounding the Dharma, teaching his disciples. But what I think was most striking to me is his teaching for monastics about how the most important thing is to live a life of virtue, not only in name, but in its spirit. So it's a kind of a reflection for myself. Right? During the Buddha's time, there were many arhants whose hearts and minds are pure. While in current times, I can speak for myself, oftentimes the afflictions are pretty strong. They're kind of there, but not really purified to their full extent. It's actually amazing how simple virtue is. There's a story that's often told about a man who goes to look for a sage who is actually sitting in a tree. So it's a tree sage. Maybe it can live at Redwood Vihara, right, one of the redwood trees. And this man is looking for this sage because this sage is renowned for his wisdom. And so he travels all across the country looking for the sage. This person tells him he's over there, this person tells him he's over there. And he travels from place to place till finally he finds the sage up in this tree. So he's there at the bottom of the tree and he looks up at the sage and he calls up, "O Venerable One, please teach me your wisdom. Please teach me. I've come from afar to learn from you." The sage looks at him. "What do you want to learn from me for? I don't know anything." He says, No, I've heard great things about you. I really want to learn from you." He says, "Really? You want to learn from me?" He says, Yes. "Really?" "Yes." "You really want to learn from me?" "Yes." "Okay." So what does he say to him? He says, "Do no evil, do all good, purify the mind." Exactly what Acharya Man just said was the essence of the Buddha's teaching, right? He said, "This is my teaching." And the man, expecting maybe some profound exposition on prajna paramita, or maybe some magical amulet that would give him spiritual abilities, said, "What? Everybody knows that. Even a 6-year-old kid knows that. Do no evil, do all good, purify the mind." So that's nothing. Really, tell me what's your secret? The old man looks at him and says, "See?" He said, "Perhaps a 6-year-old might know this principle, but even a 40, 50-year-old man like you finds it hard to do." I think that's often the experience with the Dharma as we start to go into it deeper and deeper, is that we learn the principles. Do no evil or do no harm. Do all good, be of service to others, and purify the mind. Watch our hearts, watch our mind, and begin to clear out those things that lead to suffering, and to nurture those things that lead to goodness. Simple principle, but how hard is it to apply as the world's activities come in, with the bills to pay, the family to feed, the boss that we have to please, or just our own inner expectations. It's this endless push in the world, and we forget, actually, what is the Dharma about? Very simple. Let go of those things that cause harm. Do the things that purify our heart, or are of service to others. And I gave the third one already. And serve or purify. So I think maybe just today, just some of that encouragement. It's a very simple teaching, but I think it actually gives us a really clear sense of what we're doing in the Dharma, what we're doing in our life. Do all good, do no evil, and purify the mind. Okay, so let's do 3 steps, 1 bow. And tomorrow we'll finish with Acharya Mun's biography, and we'll see his final leaving